everyone, this is Dan Hussey from ElliotWaveForcast.com. Wanted to talk to you today about determining price targets for breakouts of range-bound structures. And in this case, we're looking at the CL futures. This is the WTI light crude oil futures. You could also apply this to the USO, excuse me. But the point here, and what we're going to be talking about, is specifically this price action that occurred between about the 49 handle down towards that 42.50 area, the 43 handle. And we saw the market more or less go range bound. We started to chop sideways and consolidate, and you can see how the market slowly but surely, there was no form or structure other than compression, and the market failed to break above prior highs and consolidate above prior lows. When looking at a range, it's important to remember that is generally considered untradeable price action for trend traders. However, a trend trader can get a nice move once the market starts to break out of that range. We had both fundamental aspects coming out of OPEC yesterday that are bullish for oil, and finally might lead us to determining that this market does in fact have a more upside to come, and that's just from the fundamental aspects. As we know, the technicals have been saying this market wants to go higher for some time now. Do we have a breakout of this range? Potentially, and what we see now is finally a break of the highs to highs trend line. We're starting to squeeze above that level, and this is now, if you've gotten long oil or if you buy oil in the dips, how do you determine your upside price target? Well, now we had more compression inside of this smaller wedge-like or sideways structure. And a nice way of determining where this potential black W wave may terminate is by actually measuring the widest portion of this range and then extending it from where more or less the last low was of compression before the range broke out. And that brings us towards a breakout of the 50-30 area. So initially, on any burst out of this range, we're expecting the market to head towards that 50-30, 50-50 area before a substantial pullback might occur. And of course, the test of prior highs is probably going to give you some form of a pullback, but as we go through those levels, expect a bullish breakout towards the 50-30 area. So again, in a range-like structure, and we can actually step back and look at smaller time frame ranges here, as another example, and actually in the opposite direction. Crude had, before it declined down towards its 39 lows, we had a small range in the market here between the 51 handle. Right here, let me move this box over so we can look at what that range really ended up being. You guys can see the trend lines that form this range, the box and the width of this range. And of course, just like we did to the upside here to determine a breakout target, if this market's going to break down, we can determine a target to the downside by measuring the width of this range and then projecting it from that last kind of high, or the last high in this case from a breakout. And there's actually two levels that gave you two different areas here. So we measure the widest portion of the range, and then you extend it from, in this case, if you do it from this X wave high right here, you can see how the market broke down towards that 44 area. There's clearly support, and that's where you got that fib support from, or the market found initial support. And of course, if you were more aggressive and you went down towards this, from this black X level, you can see the market still progress down into those lows to give you a downside target out of this range. Now, if the market had gone to the upside, you would have been looking, of course, the opposite way. So you don't really know until the range starts to break which way the market's committing to, but using equal legs as a determinant for a breakout of a range gives you a very good technical target to look to take your trade to. Of course, you can look to trail stops and do other things that we'd love to get more into with you in an educational session. But for today, being able to determine when a range occurs in a market, and then of course where the potential breakout targets are of that range, is a pretty good indicator and use of a technical price measurement tool many of you may not have known about. So be certain to check out all of our educational products at EWF Education. We're happy to assist you in all of your educational needs. So until next time, everybody, I'll be back with you as price action develops. Take care, everyone.